Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel RJK Tutorials. So today I'm going to cover the second part of the tabulation, which is pertaining to the problem solving. Now let us take one such problem and find out how to tabulate this particular problem. So the problem is pertaining to example 5.2. It goes like this. In a sample study about coffee habit in two towns, the following information was received. The town A consists of female were 40%, the total coffee drinkers were 45%, and male non-coffee drinkers were 20%. So these are the information given to the town A. Similarly, town B, males were 55%, males non-coffee drinkers with 30%, and female coffee drinkers were 15%. So present the above data in a tabular form. Now let us see how the data has to be presented. Now here if you look at that problem, there are two different towns are there. One is town A and town B. So within this town and A and B, you have male and female population. Within the male and female population, you have the coffee drinkers as well as the non-coffee drinkers. So therefore, the table has to be constructed in the following manner. So the table heading can be put as coffee drinkers in town A and B, which are represented in percentages, and the town A and B is divided into male and female population followed by the total column, and all these subtotals are added together to get the grand total, and the drinking habits are taken on the left side, which consists of coffee drinkers and non-coffee drinkers. So that total is also taken here. Now let us see what data is given here. So in a town A, it is mentioned that the females were 40%. That means overall percentage of females were 40%. Now, if you look at this particular data, now females were 40%. So since females are 40%, so when you subtract 100 minus 40, what you're going to get is the male population. So that is how you get 60-40 here. Then the total coffee drinkers were 45%. So, and the other remaining data is the the male non-coffee drinkers were 20%. So here we know that the male non-coffee drinkers were 20%. So out of 60%, 20% data is already given. Which data is that one? Coffee non-drinkers. So therefore, the remaining 60 minus 20 is what you get is the coffee drinkers. So similarly, we know that the total coffee drinkers is 45. So therefore, the number of male plus female should be 45. We know that the male coffee drinkers is 40. So therefore, 45 minus 5 is the female. Now we know that the total female in the town is 40. So 40 minus 5 is 35. So that is how we get this answer in the town A. Similarly, if you go to town B, so town B it is given as the males were 55%. So total males are 55%. So what should be the total female? It should be 100 minus 55, that is 45%. And male non-coffee drinkers were 30%. So out of the 55% female, 30% is non-coffee drinkers. So therefore, 55 minus 30, what you get is the 25%. It is the male coffee drinkers. And also it is given that the female coffee drinkers is 15%. So therefore, 40 minus 25, what you get, means sorry, 40 minus 15 is what you get is 25. So similarly, we know that the female is 45. In this, the female coffee drinkers is 15%. So therefore, 45 minus 15, what you get is 30. So that is how you get these subtotals. So 45 plus 55 is 100 for town A. Similarly, 40 plus 60 is 100 for town B. So when you add 45 plus this 40, you're going to get 85. 55 plus 60, you're going to get 115. 100 plus 100, that is how you're going to get the 200. Similarly, 40 male of town A plus 25 male of town B is going to be 65%. Similarly, 5% female of town A, 15% female of town B is going to give a total of 20%. So that is how you're going to adjust the values. So this is how you have to solve the problem. Now it is very clearly given that the numbers which is marked by the asterisk, so I mean to say the star mark, actually the values are given in the problem. So whenever any problem is given in statistics, first of all make a note of all the values which is given. So two things you have to make a note. One is what is given and what is not given. So when you understand what is given and what is not given can be easily found out. Now let us go to one more example in the tabulation. Now, in this particular problem, the question goes like this. So, in the house of Lok Sabha, there were 600 members present. So, during the discussion on a motion put to vote, 400 voted in favor of resolution. The government members in the house were 380. So, 65 members belonging to the opposition party voted for the resolution, and the members belonging to either of the two groups are present here, and there were not absentees. So, this is the data given here. Now, first of all, you should understand how the problem is given here. Now, we know that in a Lok Sabha, there are totally 600 people are there. And you know that in any Lok Sabha, two types of parties will be there. One is the ruling party, which is nothing but the government party, and the non-ruling party is nothing but the opposition party. So, the total count of the ruling party plus opposition party put together should be 600. So this is what we have to understand. The other part of the problem is given here is pertaining to the voting. So whether voting is in favor or against. So this is voting versus the members in the Lok Sabha. So members are divided into ruling party as well as the opposition party. Voting is in the favor or against. So that is how the data is divided here. Now let us take this particular given data and find out what is not given here. Now, if you look at this particular problem, so the problem goes like this. So there are 600 members were there in the Lok Sabha. So that is total count of opposition ruling party 600. So during the discussion on a motion put to vote, 400 voted in favor of resolution. So that means what? So in favor of resolution, if you look at that in favor of resolution, it is 400. So that data is given here. So the government members in the house were 380. That means what? They are ruling party members. So government members are nothing but ruling party. So when we know that total members are 600. So 600 minus 380 is 220. That is how you get the opposition count. So 65 members belonging to the opposition party. So 65 people are opposition party. So therefore, so the opposition party voted in favor. That is what the data is given here. So the people who in the opposition party, the total count is 220. So 220 minus 65 is actually 155, which is the voting against. So that is how you get the 155. Now, similarly, all the members are belonging to either of the two groups and there were no absentees. Now, this particular data is given here. And we know that 400 minus 65, if you do it, you will get the count of the ruling party. Similarly, 200 minus 155, you will be getting 45. So, these are the votes which were against the motion under the ruling party. And 155 is the votes against the voting in the opposition party. So like this, you can balance all the numbers here. Now here, these are the numbers you have to balance. So what are the numbers we have to balance here? So first one is the 380 plus 220 should be 600. So you have to ensure that this particular row total matches with 600. Similarly, the column total 400 plus 200 matches with the 600. So that is how we solve this particular problem. Now we take a little bit a bigger problem. Now example 5.5, convert the given ratio into corresponding numbers and prepare a complete table for the following information. Now, in the year 1994, the total strength of three colleges, there are three colleges are there, College A, B, and C in the city, in the ratio of 3 is to 1 is to 4. So the total strength of A college was 3,000. The proportion of girls and boys in all the colleges were in the ratio of 1 is to 3. The faculty distribution of girls and boys in the faculties of arts, commerce, and science and commerce were in the ratio of 2 is to 1 is to 2, respectively, in all the colleges. So how to solve this particular problem? Now you have to put a table and a heading called table showing number of girls and boys studying in college A, B, and C. So different faculties, or different faculties, nothing but we have three faculty groups or three different streams: arts, science, and commerce. So these are the three different streams of people studying in the college. Now we know that any college consists of both boys and girls. So therefore we have three colleges: college A, B, and C. This is further divided into boys and girls, that total. Then faculties, we have three different streams are there: art students, science students, and commerce student. Now, let us analyze this particular problem. We know that the total strength of the students in all three colleges are in the ratio of 3 is to 1 is to 4. Now, the strength of A college was 3,000. So, total strength of college A is 3,000. So, out of the 3,000, we know that the strength of the college B and C can be found out. How we can find out? Because we have a ratio 3 is to 1 is to 4. So for A college, if it is 3,000, for B college, definitely it is to be one third of that. That is 1,000. Similarly, for C college, it should be 4 times the value. That is 4,000. So that is how we get 3,000, 1,000, 4,000. This is based upon the value. The strength of A college is 3,000. Now, proportion of boys and girls in all the colleges were in the ratio of 1 is to 3. So 1 is to 3. So this is the ratio. That is, girl ratio is 1, boys ratio is 3. Now, how do you solve this particular problem? So when you have a ratio of 1 is to 3, we have to take the addition of these two ratios. That is 1 plus 3. So it will be equal to 4. Now, if I want to take the girls, it should be, the girls will be 1 by 4, whereas the boys will be 3/4. That means after the overall the given population, 1/4 of the population will be of girls, 3/4 will be boys. Now let us take 3,000. So 3,000, 1/4 is 750, and 2,250 is boys. So therefore 1/4 is 750 is girls, 3/4 is 2,250. That is how you're going to get the boys. Similarly, out of 1,000, so 1/4 is 250, that is girls, and 3/4 is 3/4 of 1,000 here you have to take. So 3/4 into 1,000 is 750. Similarly, 1/4 of 4,000, which is 1,000, comes to the girls population. Similarly, 1/4, I mean 3/4 of 4,000 comes to 3,000. That is the boys population. So this is how you fill the total column, I mean total row here. So that is how you get 3,000, 1,000, 4,000 totals. So that ratio is given here. Now next we have to find out the other ratios. This is the ratio pertaining to the art, science, and commerce stream. So the art students, science students, and commerce students are in the ratio of 2 is to 1 is to 2. Now this we have to find out. Now how do you find out? Now, if you look at the overall, the totals 3,000, 1,000, and 4,000. Now, in this, we have found out that 1 is to 3 is the population of girls to boys. Now, remaining streams, if I want to take arts or the science and commerce, so that individual totals you have to find out. So, how do you find out? Now, here we have a three ratios are there: 2 is to 1 is to 2. So how do you calculate this? To be calculated as 2 plus 1 plus 2. So that comes to 5. So that comes to 2 by 5. The first one will be 2 by 5. The second one will be 1 by 5. 1 by 5. The third one will be 2 by 5. Now let us take this particular values for 3000. So 3000 into 2 by 5 is 1200. So same thing is for commerce. That is how you get 1200 for arts and commerce. Whereas 1 by 5 is for science. So 1 by 5 into 3000 is 600. Similarly, for college B, so 2 by 5, 1 by 5, 2 by 5 will be 400, 200, 400. So for college C, it is 1600, 800 and 1600. So that is how we get these totals. So that is total of arts, science and commerce for college A, B and C can be calculated by using this particular ratio. Now within these totals, how do you find out boys and girls? For that, you have to use this ratio 1:3. So we know that, for example, if I take arts for college A, we know the total students in arts is 1200. In this, you have to take the ratio 1:3. So 1:3 is nothing but that is 1 by 4 and 3 by 4. So 1/4 of 1200 is 300. Similarly, 3/4 of 1200 is 900. So that is how you're going to get 300, 900. Similarly, for arts, for B will be 100, 300. For college C, the arts boys will be 400, girls I'm sorry, the girls C for C will be 400, for boys will be 1200. So that is how we get. So this is based upon the ratio 1:3. So 1 is for girl, 4 is for boy. So 1:3. If you take this ratio, you have to convert into fraction on 1/4 of this total value, and 3/4 of that particular value gives the total of girls and boys in the respective colleges. So that is how we have to solve this particular problem. I hope that you have understood this particular problem. So this is the problem based upon the simple ratio. So we have to take the simple ratio values. So using the simple ratio values, we have to extract the individual values and we have to tally the totals. So first you have to calculate the row total. That is 3000, 1000 is equal 4000, which subdivided into 750, 2000, 250, 250, 750 like that. Then one by one, you have to tally the column total. So this is how this particular problem can be solved. Then we take one more problem. This is pertaining to example 5.7. The number of accidents in Southern Railway in 1970 was 3,500. It was decreased by 300 in 1971 and by 700 in 1972. The total number of accidents in the meter gauge section showed 245 in 1970, 346 in 1971, 428 in 1972. In a meter gauge, non-compensated cases were 49 in 1970, 77 in 1971, 108 in 1972. The compensated cases in broad gauge were 2,867 in 1970, 2,587 in 1971, 2,152 in 1972. So you have to tabulate these particular values. Now, first of all, you have to construct a table consisting of 3 years, 1970, 71 and 72. So next, this particular the train gets divided into two gauges. One is BG and MG. So BG stands for broad gauge, MG stands for meter gauge. So broad gauge, meter gauge, that total in 1970. Similarly, broad gauge, meter gauge, that total in 1971. Broad gauge, meter gauge, that total in 1972. So like this, you have to take the totals. Now the values which are mentioned in star are the values given. So these values are given here. So number of accidents in Southern Railway in 1970 was 3,500. So total accidents in 1970, it is given as 3,500 and it has decreased by 300 in 1971. So that means what? 3,500 minus 300 will be 3,200 in 1971 and 700 in 1972. So, so another 700 we have to subtract here. So 3500 minus 700, it will be 2800. So this is how you get this totals. And the total number of accident in the meter gauge section, that data is given here. So it is 245 1970. So 245, this total is given here. Then 346 in 1971. Then we have 428 in the 1972. So these values are also given here. In the meter gauge, see, all these gauges are broadly classified into two categories. One is compensated, non-compensated passengers. So non-compensated passengers data is given. The non-compensated cases were 49 in 1970. So that is 1970, it is 49. So we know that the total is 3,500. Now this gets divided into the total of compensated and total of non-compensated. Now here we know that the 49 is the non-compensated cases. So when you subtract from 437, what you will be getting is 388. Similarly, in broad gauge, 2867 is compensated. So that thing is gets subtracted from 3063. What you get is 196. Similarly, the star values are the values which is given. So when you put these values, the remaining total value gets adjusted. So from the adjusted values, if you subtract these star values or the given values, you will get the non-given values. So what the non-given values here? 269, 267, 320, 220. So these values you can calculate. So that is how you can solve this particular problem. Then we'll take another simple problem where we can solve this particular tabulation related problem. Now it is given here 5.11 in April 1986 examination of Bangalore University, 4,000 appeared for BCom. So this is the data given. So 4,000 appeared for BCom, and of which 60% were from Bangalore city colleges and rest were from the rural colleges. Of the total students appearing for the examination, 75% were boys and the rest were girls. The result of the examination revealed a total pass of 40%. The ratio of boys and girls passing the examination is 2:3. So this is almost similar to the previous problem. Now here the number of students appearing for the Bangalore city examination, that should be the title. So in 1986, so this is the title. Now this gets divided into two categories of colleges, city colleges and rural colleges. So that particular thing data is given here. Now we know that the total students appearing for Bangalore University examination is 4,000. So this 4,000 is the total students put together of city colleges and rural colleges. Now of the total student appearing for examination, 75% boys and the rest were girls. So this data is given. The results of examination revealed total pass of 40%. The ratio of boys and girls passing the examination is 2:3. Now we know that the overall total is 4,000 for the overall BCom examination of both the city college as well as the rural colleges. Here, one more data is given. 60% of the students were from Bangalore city. That means 60% of 4,000 is nothing but the 2,400. So that is from the Bangalore city colleges. So 2,400 minus 4,000, what you're going to get is 1,600. That is from the rural colleges. So that is how you have to balance. Now, depending upon the passing results, we have the passing results here. So what is the passing results? 75% of the students passed were from the total number of strength of the of the total students appearing for the examination, 75% were boys and rest were girls. That means out of the total number of students in each colleges, the ratio of boys to girls is given here. So 75% were boys, rest were girls. That means 2,400. If you take 75%, that comes to 1800. So that is boys. Rest is this month you have to subtract, you get 600 as the rest. Similarly, 1600, 75% is 1200. So this 1200 minus 1600 is 400. Similarly, 1400 is the total. In this, if you take 75%, it will be 3000. So 4000 minus the 3000 is 1000. So that is how you're going to get the row total. The results of the examination reveal total pass of 40%. That means pass to fail is 40%. So out of 2400, 40% if you take, it comes to 960. Similarly, 1600, 40% is 640. Similarly, 4000, 40% is 1600. Now, this particular thing, if you subtract, you will be getting here 1440. For rural college, it is 690. So 1440 plus 690 is 2400. That is how you get it. Now we know the ratio of boys to girls. So the boys to girls is 2 is to 3. That is 2 is to 3 basically means, so boys will be 2 by 5. So for girls, it will be 3 by 5. Now, if I take this total 960, so in this 2 by 5 into 960, if I do it, so I'll be getting 384 for boys, and 3 by 5 into 960 is 576. Similarly, 640, 2 by 5 is 256, 3 by 5 is 384. Similarly, you will get 640 and 960. Similarly, if you take this failed total, in this, if you take this particular ratio, boys and girls, so once again, the data gives you the exact picture of the values what is mentioned here. Now, one more data is here, like we know that 384 is the pass students. So how many failed students are there? So 1800 minus 384 is 101416. Similarly, 600 minus 576 is 24. So like this, you can adjust the values. Now, this is how you can solve this particular problem. So I hope that you understood this particular problem. This is based on ratios. So you have to take the ratios, and based upon the ratios, you have to calculate the answer. So here we are going to do one more, the last problem in tabulation. The problem goes like this. In a trip, it is given that a trip organized by college, there were 80 persons, each one of whom paid 15.50 on average. There were 60 students, each of whom paid 16 rupees. Members of teaching staff were charged at a higher rate. The number of servants were 6, all males, and they were not charged. That means it's given that servants were not charged anything. Teaching staff were charged higher. What is that percentage is not given. That is what we have to find out. And the number of ladies was 20% total participants in a trip, of which one was a lady staff. So that is how the data is given here. How do you solve this particular problem? Solve this particular problem, we have to go like this. So you have to construct a table with heading, table showing the members of the trip and the contribution. So first you have to take the sex. So sex consists of male and female, that is male staff and female staff, that total contribution per member and that total. So members are three categories are there: students, staff, and servants. So let us see what are the data given here. So in a trip organized by college, there were 80 people were there. That is total people of all the students, staff, and servants put together is 80. So this data is given here. So this particular data is given here. So this is how we can understand here. Okay, so this data is given here 80. Now each one of them paid 15.50 on an average. So when I say average, we have to use the average formula. So what is the average formula? X bar is equal to sigma x divided by n. So here x bar is the average, sigma x is the total divided by the total count of the total. Now it is given here the average value is 15.50. Okay, but we know that the total is 80. So divided by 80. So sigma x I want to calculate. So how to calculate sigma x? Cross multiply that. So if I cross multiply that, so automatically I can find out the value. So this is how the calculation is done. So total contribution is equal to average contribution to 15.50. So that average contribution, it comes to 12 point, I'm sorry, 1240. So average contribution, that is 15.50 into 80. So that comes to 1240 rupees. This is the total contribution. Now, based on this information given here, we have to calculate the other things. So what are the other things given here? 60 students were there. So total student strength is 60, that is given here. And the members of teaching staff were charged higher rate. We don't know what is higher rate. Number of servants were 6. So 60 plus 6, it comes to 66. So 66, when you subtract from 80, you'll be getting 14. So 14 were staff. So this particular column gets accumulated. Now, we know that number of servants were 6 and they were not charged anything. So there is no charge given here. So therefore, when it comes to the charge, so there is no charge given here. And that is the contribution is nil here. So you can see that contribution is nil here. And one more thing is given here pertaining to the servants. The number of servants were 6. All of them are males. That means all these 6 servants are male. So there is no any female. Therefore, it is 0. And contribution is also 0. The number of ladies were 20% of the total population. So 20% of 80 is 16. Remaining 80 minus 16 gives you 64. That is the male population. Now, how do you calculate this one? Now, we know that the total number of students is, the total number of students is 60. The contribution is 16 rupees. So therefore, total contribution comes to 960. Now, staff is 14. Now, what is that contribution? We don't know. But total contribution, we know. So if you, similarly, if you use this particular formula, x bar is equal to sigma x divided by n. Now here, we have to calculate the average here. So total contribution is 260. So 260 divided by 14. So if you make it, so automatically we'll be getting 20 here. So that is the average contribution of the staff here. So if you take this particular contribution into consideration, this is how you will be getting here. Now, so overall average contribution is 15.50 because it's given here 15.50 is the average contribution. But here you cannot add 16 plus 20, you cannot add two averages cannot be added, only two totals can be added. So therefore, you should not get confused with 15.50. Normally students get confused. How is that you got 15.50 by adding 16 and 20? It should be 36. But here we're getting 15.50. Averages cannot be added. So this average value 15.50 is already given in the problem. So that is how we calculate the answer. So we have to use the average formula or the simple arithmetic mean formula. So what is the simple arithmetic mean formula? X bar is x bar is equal to sigma x divided by n. So that is how we calculate. So the staff contribution, the remaining amount of the students, the staff contribution is the remaining amount after the students have contributed. That is how much the staff have contributed. So that average we have to find out. So that total, how do you calculate the total contribution of the students minus the servants one. So minus the servants one. So minus servants is 0. So therefore, what you have to do is, so 1240 is the total amount contributed. In that 960, if you remove, that comes to 280. So 280 divided by 14 gives you 20 rupees is the average contribution. So that is how you get the average contribution of 20 year. So that is how we're going to solve the problem. I hope that you understood the some basic problems related to tabulation. For more informations, for more updates, please subscribe my channel RJK Tutorials. You'll be getting the regular updates. So thank you very much.